are here. I'm watching Live for Love TV. Live for Love TV, very educative program. Please subscribe, like, and share. Bless up, Aya.
Hello everybody, my name is Caleb and you're watching Live for Love TV. Like, share and subscribe. Thank you.
Like, share, and subscribe. Live for Love TV.
Welcome back. Well, welcome back to Live for Love TV. Today's the 17th day of the 12th month of the 21st year inside the 21st century. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Okay, today we're going to talk a little bit about equality and from my perspective as usual, what I see equality as and what I don't see it as. Many years ago, I said, I do not see myself as an African as equal to a European. And many Africans who would hear me say something like that would say, how can you say that? We fought for equality. Martin Luther King fought for equality. Many of the freedom writers went down for equality. And I've always suggested that if people don't actually understand what equality is, then maybe that's why they get this concept that they want to be equal with someone. What if that person's on a different level from you? What if that person's not somebody who you actually want to be like at all? Would you still want to be equal with them just because everybody's saying you need to be equal? Well, recently I've been talking about relationships between the brothers and the sisters. And I'm going to say again, men and women are not equal. So that is probably even more controversial. And I'll try to expound on that and explain why I say that. And when I say they're not equal, I'm not saying anybody is better than anybody else. But equal to me, when somebody says something is equal, it means it's the same as. Equal. 1 + 1 = 2, the same as. And I don't see myself as the same as a woman. And a woman should not see herself as the same as a man. Now, in a lot of the females, of modern females fighting for equality, just like black people did, they've put themselves in a very bad situation. Because if they see themselves as equal to their husband, their boyfriend, their man, their relationship they're in, they're going to have a problem. Because to them, equality means the same as. So maybe they think if they're driving a bus or a train, you know, lifting a sack of hay or doing something they've seen men do traditionally, that makes them the same as. No, that doesn't make you the same as just because you did something that somebody else did. That doesn't make you the same as. It doesn't make you equal. And women should not want to be equal to men. If a woman knew what it was truly to be a man, she wouldn't want to be equal to a man. And no man should want to be equal to a woman. We're not equal. We don't need to be equal in order to be loving partners, to be respectful of one another, to be on the same page, working together against the entities, the things that are against both of us. We don't need to be equal to do that. But when you start going into the equality stakes, you find yourself in some very, very, very dodgy ground, because we're having now a lot of masculine women and fighting their men, and it's all over the world, especially in the Western world. And that's because they want to be equal to men. Well, you can't be equal to a man if you're not masculine. Think about it. If you're not masculine, how do you become, because you're not the same as. So how would you become equal to a man? So women have fallen in behind the feminists in trying to be equal to men, becoming more masculine. And the more masculine they become is the more they come out with the statements like, oh, I don't need a man. Because you don't need a man, because you are a man. If you see yourself as a man, then you won't need a man. Fair enough, we understand that. But the problem is a lot of the sisters have got caught up in somebody else's argument, in somebody else's way of looking at life in the Western societies. And now they're confused. Now they're finding themselves out of door, on their own, masculine when they don't want to be, arguing even when they probably don't want to be arguing, because they feel they have to, behave like a man to get any respect in this world. Often wearing more trousers than men wear. I mean, I jest when I say that, but that's how it is, isn't it? When I was going to school as a young man, there was not a single woman wearing a trouser. Of course, women wore jeans now and again, but there was not a single woman. They didn't wear trousers to school. They couldn't. It was unheard of. Now it's a regular everywhere. So they're becoming more masculine, or trying to behave more masculine has become something that the Western society has pushed for many, many years, many decades. And the people who now having trouble with their femininity, having trouble with being able to be, and as I say, they use the word submissive, as women should be submissive to men. Again, that's not a dirty word. It's not a dirty word at all. Most of you are very submissive when you go to work. You don't stand up to your bosses. You don't equally argue with your bosses. If your bosses say something, you just become submissive because it's his company or it's her company. So you're just submissive. You just accept what's going on and do your job and get out and go home. You have no problem being submissive at work. But so many females now have a problem being submissive to their men. And because that word is a dirty word to a lot of Western women, especially to the feminist movement that came about in the early 70s, which has now taken over the whole Western females from what I can see. So as I started, and I'll keep going on, don't try to be equal with a man. You don't need to be. You've got your own identity as a female, as a woman. I have 4 daughters and 1 son. None of my daughters, I want them to be equal to my son or equal to a man. I wouldn't teach them that, and I wouldn't want them to think like that. They've been told that's good for them, but it takes away from their femininity. It takes away from their beautiful being beautiful young ladies and beautiful women. It takes away from that and makes them. Eventually it's gonna make them butch. Butch, as they call the old word they call butch. What man wants a butch woman? What man wants to hang around with a butch woman? Why do you want to be masculine? Because somebody said you should be equal? You see, this is the play on words that you have to be careful for. And this is why I said at the very beginning that I didn't want to be equal to Europeans, because I'd have to look at what is a European general way of being. What is the general way that maybe European society has wanted to be for the last 3,000 years or 2,000 years? Do I want to be equal to that? Well, I certainly don't. I don't know about anybody else, but I certainly don't. I don't adhere to being equal to something that I don't want to be like. I don't want to be the same as. You must have your own identity. Africans have always had our own identity. And we've had our own identity going back for thousands and thousands of years. And inside that identity, we are completely diverse. Within our sectors, within our tribes, within our countries, within our neighbors, within our families, there's diversity there. But when you talk about equality, you must be very, very careful when you take on other people's arguments, because you find yourself not understanding how they see themselves. And if they start to mistreat you the way maybe they mistreat their one another, you're going to say, well, something ain't right here. I'd say, yeah, of course it's not right, because you never understood who the people are you're trying to be equal to. And I'm saying no woman should want to be equal to me. I'm a man. You don't want to be a man. You should not want to be a man. And no man should want to be equal to a woman. You're not a woman, and you should never want to be a woman. Don't even not entertain that for a minute, a second. And don't try and let people twist you and say, well, equality means equal rights and all that kind of, this is just plays on words. Equality means the same as, and even if you try to get equal rights for male and female, you're going to find yourself in a problem, because we are different. We have differences. I mean, let me give you an example. You have 2 children. This is a simple example. You have 2 children. One of them is born and they grow up to be, 2 teenagers. Just say they're twins. One's 6'5" and weighs 240 pounds. And one's 5'5" and weighs 150 pounds. Now you're going to cook and feed the 2 of those children exactly the same. Are you going to give them equal meals? Are you going to say, okay, I'm going to cook this and cook this going to be equal. I'm going to give them exactly the same. The 6'5" with a 5'5", the one weighing 100 pounds more or not. Nobody would do that. No mother would do that. And no father would do that, because they know that doesn't make any sense. We have to be careful when you talk about equalities. Just because other people think that's the cheap way of raising their standards to become like the people they adhere to or the people they like. Well, maybe that's not what you need to be. You need to be at the height of what you are. And females need to raise, like I'd say to my daughters, you need to get to the height of femininity, to the height of what a woman can be. You don't need to compete with any men. You don't need to be equal with any men. You have your own place in the universe and on this earth. And it's your own divine space. You don't have to worry about any man and being equal to him. That's a road to ruin for you. And we can see now in Western society how things have gone and how things are going and why there's so much problems, because this thing doesn't work, has never worked. The closest we've ever seen anything like it is probably in the days of the Greek antiquity, when they were trying to get some form of equality there and the whole thing collapsed right around their ears. So anyway, that's my take on equality and not wanting to be equal. I don't want anyone to try and be equal. But then in the comments, you can come at it and say what you think. I know you're going to get it all mixed up and say, oh, he's saying not equal, therefore he thinks he's better than women or men are better than women. I never said that. That's in your own mentality. I would never say that. I would never say that my son is better than my daughters. How could he be? To me, not in a million years. And my daughters are not better than my son, but they're not equal. They're just different. Live for Love TV. Take care. See you soon.
People.